Tech Me Out is hosted by Keyende Stinson, a technologist and attorney with a passion for exploring how technology shapes our lives. Keyende brings a thoughtful, curious, and critical perspective to every episode, helping you understand the impact of tech beyond the screen. For more episodes and insights, visit techmeoutpodcast.substack.com. Right before the school year started, my kids' school hosted a back-to-school event. A fun kickoff, activities, games, a way for the kids to meet their classmates before day one. But there was a catch. There was a hefty fee to attend. It made me pause. What about the kids whose families couldn't afford it? What do they miss out on? That one moment before school even starts could shape their child's entire year. Missing out on connection, early friendships, even a sense of belonging. It got me thinking, if a social event can feel like a barrier, what does that mean when we start layering in technology, especially the kind that's quietly reshaping how young children learn? Artificial intelligence is showing up in early education. Those tools, while promising, may actually be deepening inequalities before a child even reaches kindergarten. Today, we're kicking off our AI and education series. This is Tech Me Out, and I'm Keyende Stinson. I'll be starting with a discussion on access and design. These terms are especially important in the context of artificial intelligence because AI is embedded into educational products now, making the way these products are designed critical, and access equally important because it raises questions about who actually gets to use these educational products. So let's take a closer look at these key terms, access and design, through the lens of AI in education. Let's start with access. There are already AI-powered toys and apps designed for toddlers and preschoolers. You have smart companions, you have adaptive learning platforms, you have story time bots that can change what they say based on how your child responds. A fun fact, in 2023, Mattel released an AI-powered version of its iconic Fisher-Price bear, the Smart Toy Bear. And it uses voice recognition and adaptive learning to personalize interactions based on a child's responses. The goal of the product is to promote early cognitive development through storytelling and educational games. So let's break that down. I'm imagining that the earlier version was a toy, a bear, maybe sitting down that would dance and the head would move back and forth and maybe the eyes would blink, and you put it in front of your child and your child is just loving it because they're having fun interacting in that way, because that's a lot of what children do at that age. They're kind of bopping their head and smiling and wanting to blink their eyes. So this new version can talk to your child. It actually listens to what your child is saying, the babbling, and maybe develops an understanding of what that child wants. There's also educational games included in it. So what was just maybe dancing and left and right movement of the head, maybe now, let me tell you a story about the sun. Or let me tell you a story about food. And so a child who has this toy is developing advanced, because if you're buying toys like this, either, you receive it as a gift or something like that, you're probably going to put it in front of your kid when you want to do something and you have to devote your time 100%. You're hoping that that toy interacts with your child in a way that you don't have to in that moment. But I don't know how often when I'm sitting with my kid, or when I was sitting in front of my children to entertain them, did we talk about education? Did I try to gamify learning at that age? I didn't. So this product is incredibly valuable to those who have access to it. I'm not sure how much it costs even, but it likely isn't cheap. And let me be clear, it doesn't have to be cheap. It has to be accessible. So what we know is that most of these products are made for individual consumers, not public pre-Ks or community centers. Access means that you have to pay in order to obtain these tools, and they're relatively expensive. So certain households, those with less economic means, are limited in their access to the tool. Another quick stat. One 2024 report found that over 70% of AI-driven early learning products are only available through paid subscriptions or private programs. That means that toddlers in wealthier households may already be building digital fluency into their child, where they're learning how to ask questions, which as they go into school will become how to ask prompts, how to interact with AI, while other kids are left out because of economically restrictive access. So now let's talk about design. Design plays a powerful role in shaping how children interact with and how they benefit from AI-driven educational tools. Design is not just about how the product looks. It's about how it functions, who it's built for, and what assumptions are built into its core. Many of these tools are designed with a very specific user in mind. A child who speaks English at home, for example, who has a caregiver available to guide them, who lives in a household with reliable, high-speed internet connection. This kind of design can unintentionally exclude children from multilingual, lower income, or less internet-connected households. And let's remember, being digitally connected is sometimes the parent's choice. For example, if an app only offers instructions or stories in English, children who are more fluent in another language may struggle to engage with that tool. If a tool requires constant internet access to function properly, children in rural communities with limited data plans may be left behind. And if the design assumes adult supervision or tech support from an adult, children of working parents or single parent households may not receive the help the tool expects them to have. Laying out these two key terms, access and design, brings us to what I call the socio-tech connect. This is the point where we pause and ask a critical question. If we all agree that early education is foundational to a child's development and long-term success, then how can we reimagine technology to reflect the collective responsibility of raising our children? How do we design and distribute AI tools in a way that truly aligns with the spirit of the phrase, "It takes a village"? Ensuring that no one is left out of the benefits of innovation, especially now, as more tech innovators step into the educational space. Stick with me. I have an idea. So, think about the collective responsibility of creating an open learning environment. One where AI-powered educational tools are developed not just with innovation in mind, but with intention, equity, and community at its center. To tackle these issues of access and design, we need to involve a broader set of voices in the development of these technologies. This includes educators who understand the classroom dynamics, parents who know their children's needs, community organizers who hear the issues on the ground, designers who can build for inclusion. And here's what that could look like. Let's get direct input from families of different backgrounds, non-English speakers, low-income households, rural communities, to make sure that the tools reflect real-world needs. Let's advocate for more accessible infrastructure, public investment in broadband access, So limited data plans don't prohibit a family's access to these tools. Let's encourage, or better yet, require through legislation, developers clearly disclose what assumptions are built into their tools and create design standards that prioritize flexibility, adaptability, because we change. People change, and that needs to be accounted for as well. Finally, by partnering with libraries and community centers and schools, let's distribute and support the use of these AI learning tools everywhere. So we're expanding our movement in the village, where we're including the institutions that we already trust. At the end of the day, if early education is truly foundational to a child's future, and we know it is, then we can't afford to treat access and design to these early educational AI tools as afterthoughts. AI in education must be more than just smart. It has to reflect the communities it hopes to serve. I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this. I really would. Okay, let's shift gears. I think it's important to hear thoughts on these topics from an everyday person living their life through tech. So recently I spoke with Angela about a variety of topics, and you can hear some of that in my first episode. I absolutely love her thoughts on education and specifically on how and when she brings tech into her home with her kids. Let's take a listen.
It's really hard to put them off their screen. Sometimes I don't mind them watching stuff, right? In the sense, if they start watching something good, right? If they're watching something which kind of makes them understand something, right? Like some shows are not, frankly speaking, there is a lot of good stuff that you can watch.
Yeah.
There are really a lot of good stuff, and some of them they do watch it, and that's the interesting part, right? So I cannot always tell that they're watching nonsense.
Right.
They're not always watching nonsense. And that is where I said that it would be nice if I could interfere with their choices in a way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you did bring that up. So it's very interesting because a lot of like the different platforms do give you some ability to put boundaries on what they listen to or what they watch. I know that YouTube has like an age preference that you can put in, but my issue with that is what happens when you have one TV and kids that are different ages. It's really hard to find something that they both want.
So what I'm trying to say is that I don't even mind about the age, because relatively they are, I have two boys, so that relatively their interest is relatively similar in a way. We have not reached a point where the one person is strongly opposed to the other person's content. So it's not that bad, but my point is on the content specifically, right? Age related, there's a lot of stuff which is good and bad. So what I was trying to say is that, so the content that they watch, giving an example, my kids are not allowed to play Minecraft right now. So I'm like, I've put a cutoff, right? So, but they watch videos on it, right? That's like somebody is playing Minecraft. I don't think they are getting anything out of it other than just the part of seeing somebody play, right? So since they see that, the next time they open the app, it's the similar content that's coming, similar to that. But the thing is, what I want to say is that in between, because kids don't really search for a different channel or something like that, I could have identified 10 channels, 10 different streams that would be useful to them. Right? So if I had the capacity, so the problem is sometimes I feel you can subscribe to the channel, but you can't really like something and just keep them coming. I haven't really figured that one out of the app. Maybe I'm wrong. Even for me, if you see, if I do YouTube scrolling, right? If I do the short reels, right? Most of the content I get is like junk stuff, right?
With preferences on it, they're still in the background, and pretty much all of these platforms, they will track what you're watching and then show you more things similar to that, because their goal is to keep you on their platform.
maybe 10% informative content, but mostly it's like some sort of a reel, something that's gone viral or something. If you have dopamine addiction, you should be able to restrict the time and all those things, but there's nothing wrong in getting information, right? So we have to be really on top of our toes to know what to like and what to click, because if you even click by mistake, that's going to come up again. And the problem is sometimes even by mistake you can get into the rabbit hole. That is the problem. That is where the issue is, right? Even if you might not really like the content, but once you've clicked it, it came up, and the second one might be interesting, and then you go down that hole. I'm like, why did I get into it? It's more like you have to be really self-disciplined to get there, or you lose it. Yeah, because your brain doesn't need to work, right? And you think that is relaxing. We kind of get to that point where you feel that is sort of what is relaxing, right?
I agree with you. It's almost as if the minute you click on something that isn't 100% what you would rather watch all the time, that they'll send you all of that. Maybe because there's just so much of that content. Yeah.
And I mean, frankly, I'm always on my phone, so I cannot even blame them at one point when they want a phone and when they were doing these things, and when they think that scrolling is sort of giving you relaxation.
These platforms are created for ease. And so it's like I find myself getting comfortable at the end of my day, and I will just scroll on things, and I don't think I'm ingesting it.
So it's about keeping them interested. The focus has been on concentration and keeping his interest, like getting them to sit and do some work, right? I mean, I don't know whether it's more of a, I mean, I shouldn't be gender biased, but the fact that I have two boys, it's really hard.
Your kids are young, like my kids. How do you think it's going to be helpful based off of everything we just discussed?
I feel for younger kids, the fact of seeing things real, right? And not everything just on screen. So it's this very simple thing. The whole thing of video calling and FaceTiming don't really work very well with young kids, because they don't really respond to a screen as much as personal, which is something I have noticed quite a lot. So with technology and with my family far away, we always talk on a video call, but the kids don't respond to them on a video call. But if they are here, because I don't think my kids are not social enough. They have no problems interacting with relatively any age, but they seem to be extremely antisocial when it comes to video calls. Kids using Chromebooks from the time they're kindergarten, right? I don't even know how to get them to configure their writing, because I have no idea how we're going to go forward in the future. Whether are we going to really need to write, need to know how to do good lettering? Is that important in the future? I feel it's important skill to have, to be able to learn to kind of use your hands. I'm not sure how to navigate how we're going to do that in the future, because now mostly everything, there's very less stuff done by hand, even in schoolwork and things like that. So yesterday's people are teaching today's generation what they should do tomorrow.
That is just perfect. And that perfectly sums up the tension and the confusion, and maybe the kids, their like disinterest. It's hard to teach what you didn't experience yourself. It's extremely difficult to do that.
And it's not even in the present. We have to prepare them for a future which we don't know.
It's like technology has thrown us off.
Yeah. I mean, it's improving in a good direction. I'm not saying no, but then, there's a lot of not just technology is improving, right? It's about your expectations. Like now, I don't even know how to help somebody in a homework. I mean, at this point, everybody, the kids, if you see the high school kids, they'll be using AI to do their work, right? So what is the stuff that you're bringing
And
new
that's
into the whole thing?
important. I'm working on a series about artificial intelligence and education, and at the university level, it's like, are they just going to be duplicating what happens in high school? Like, where is the creativity? Where is the changing of expansion of knowledge? If everything is doable through artificial intelligence, through technology tools. And that's going to be really difficult. Like, you can even get a degree online. And so it's going to be very, very hard.
Yes, but the thing is, what makes you stand out? And that's what is the key aspect, right? There could be 10 different versions of a summary. I mean, some content has only one summary. That is what the AI is giving you, right? But how do you take that summary and sort of make sense of it in your own unique way? And that makes you stand out, right? The point is, how do you help your kid to be able to understand the content in a way within your context, within the problem that you're trying to attack, right? So to be able to make sense of that, right? That is the challenge, right? That is what they have to learn, right? So that is something. I don't know whether the education system is aligned that way at this point, because the AI is going to just give you, depending on your background, depending on the parameters that you put in, it's going to give you a summary. Every technology is to make your life easier. No question to that. That's the core idea about it, right? But that if it makes you dumb, then it doesn't make sense, right? So if it has to empower you to be better, right? So if you are not utilizing the technology to empower, because if you see Google, right, it's like if you type something, you can get utter nonsense too, right? It's an overload of information. To be able to streamline and get the right information is a challenge, and that is the skill that you need to have. Right? If you Google an item, to be able to figure out the exact thing that you're looking for in a pool of data that can be useful and useless, that is the challenge, and that has been the challenge actually. If you check for scholarly articles, you have thousands of them. But to be able to select the one that is useful for you, right? That is the same thing with AI also, right? AI will give you the summary or based on the parameters that you put in. So to be able to draft out what exactly you want, what exactly you chart it out is the most challenging thing. So as a parent, to be able to guide your kids in that direction, which can empower them and in a progressive direction, that is what that's what you need help. Parenting in every generation is hard, because we are all trying to do what best you can do with what information we have at that point, right? We are all trying to help them in a direction that can be, positive, right? So, as a parent, I feel sometimes you are a little clueless when it comes to a lot of things.
And this just kind of adds another layer. I like how you summed it up generationally. Each of our parents had an issue of something that shifted and made it confusing and difficult for them to parent us. And then their parents had the same, there was another issue or some changing of the times that made it difficult for them to parent. And I loved how you said teaching them within the context that they need to be taught in. And with AI, that relying on it 100%, it's going to make things challenging, and we might not be producing.
The problem with technology, the bigger thing that I feel is, you see kids saying that I'm bored, which is not something we used to say as kids.
Very true. Yeah.
Which is a big problem, right? Because I feel when they say I'm bored, do something is what I say, right?
Yeah.
Find something to do, right? At this point, it's not so bad. But I mean, I know as they grow, it's going to be more bad because they're going to have, once you have your own gadgets. I mean, I would say because I feel bored if I don't have my phone, right? So I cannot really tell them not to be bored because I know, right? Because you're so used to that, that is your comfort, right? That is a very tough spot to change. And that's I feel the other thing is me and my husband, mostly we are into, hiking and all that. I mean, at least it's not like we are hardcore, but I've always had this thing with nature, right? We have to be there and that connection, right? So that is also one of the reasons why I'm fine with them not really fully everything into app and all that, because you lose the connection. Technology is a really something that kind of keeps you captivated, right? I mean, when we were kids, TV was the thing that keeps you captivated, right? So now it's there's a lot of things that can keep you captivated, mostly screens, right? So we lose sight of somebody around you, which is something that is the basic that humanness part of it, we are losing it, right? Because being mindful is something that I at least hope that my kids will have, right? But as a parent, you need to consider all these things, right? You can't just think of having smart kids. I need them to be people, right? I want them to be human and have to be able to connect with different people and understand, be real, right? Because sometimes technology sort of gives you a very deceiving world, right?
You've been listening to Tech Me Out. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.